Greetings, greetings, one and all. How's everybody doing? Is there anyone that is up at this time? Greetings, greetings, greetings. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Peace, one and all. Happy full moon. Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm doing some readings if anyone would like a reading and any updates. Yes. Greetings, greetings. Get into this. Okay. Okay. Greetings. How art thou? I'm great. How are you? Long time, right? How are you being today? This full moon. Just give me uno momento. I'm just sharing. Yes. How art thou? How art thou? Well, don't use those words bad luck. I wouldn't call it bad luck. I would more look at it as what are you shifting? What are you shifting within yourself that shows up as something uncomfortable? That's how I would look at it, but not bad luck. Be conscious of our words, what we speak, because words cause spellings. You know what I'm saying? So, we're all going through major changes. How many times have we gone through that? It's a full moon, and the full moon brings, this full moon in Taurus brings on, hey, Erica, how art thou? Surprise, surprise, I'm on tonight. Yes, I'm here to offer readings, because I know it's been a while. I know usually I'm doing speaking and so forth, but I am doing readings. If anyone has anything they would like for me to look into for them, I'm just asking for any donations. If your heart feels pulled to do so, do not be afraid to ask, because as we are evolving as souls, we're here to bring it together. You know what I'm saying? To bring everything that has been within us to light, that has been deep within us. You know what I mean? So I'm here. We're all here today, this moment, this time. Time knows no distance. Love knows no distance, you see? So it doesn't matter where we are right now. The moon is still shining. The sun is still shining as well. So if anyone would like for me to look into anything for you, please feel free to ask. And of course, I'm asking if your heart is pulled to donate. I would love for that, if you can, if you desire to. And I also have messages that I'd love to share for anyone that may be in need of hearing something, because we never know what we hear today that helps us to shift. We're all shifting, dynamically. So what does the full moon represent for us right now? It represents what we're grounding and templating, as far as manifestation, as far as a lot of things that we have put out there for such a long time, but we've had to go through periods of clearing, within our hearts and souls, having to look at those mirrors. It doesn't matter what, I would say, what path that we've chosen. And this has to do with your soul evolution. And so between this time frame, between now and I would say Friday, it's important to think about what your wishes have been. What are your deepest desires? And going really deep within and, really looking at it. And, it's not just say you're just planting the seeds, but also facing what it is. What is it that you are truly desiring? Because a lot of times we think we just put it out there, but then are there any blocks that you're still holding on to? Is there anything that you are still in fear of when it comes to your sexuality, when it comes to relationships? We're shifting through things with our relationships. If you know deep in your heart, in case there's someone that has come back in from your past that you need to look at, that there hasn't been closure, or anything that has been painful for you, what is it for you to look at, to do with that relationship? Do you see what I'm saying? And more often so than ever, I get so much readings of people. Greetings. I get so much contact from people that are wanting to look into their relationships to do with someone else. And still, I will always say, what is it is showing up to do with you? What is there for you to still look at, for to do with you? What is going back into your childhood? What's going on from your past? What have you been able to release? Are there any sexual traumas? Is there anything that you need to say to someone that you haven't, released it? If you're not able to release it to that person, then you write it down. If you're not able to write it down, I say, you just express it in some way, because anything that comes within you, you're holding on to it. And, we're here to bring on new earth, and new earth is already here. If anyone saw how I got that beautiful photo of the moon, and it looked so bright, and I know I was in Egypt. It's just like Egypt was just around me, just with that, and golden, and as we work through all of the issues that we have, you start to become lighter. You start to become, enlightened. You start to, how do I say, when you clear it, you manifest. You manifest things more. So as you clear things within yourself, you start to manifest even more just from what you're clearing. And when I say clearing, I'm talking about the blocks that you have, because is these blocks that we have to love is what we are working through. Do you see what I'm saying? And so Scorpio now is taking you, has been taking us deeper to look at the pain, to look at what you're in fear of, and a lot of times you might think you're not in fear and you're okay, but then there's still something more that you may be afraid of, or you may not have wanted to look at, or even listening to what your family members have said to tell you how love should show up and when it should show up, or looking at any factors to do with your age, or to do with your culture, to do with religion. How much are you holding on to religion? How many of you still feeling that you have to rely on someone else to tell you who to be and where to be and how to live and who to love? How much are you releasing, all of this? How many of you are still awake at night and can't sleep because you have all of this stuff within you, and you're in fear of yourself, you're in fear of your path, you're in fear of who you're connected to, or maybe you're judging who you're connected to because they're not what you expected them to be, or how you expected them to be presented, with you. And I say this again, like I've always said before, that the way how spirit, how God, the universe, the cosmos has orchestrated it is how we're coming back to ourselves through the ones that we're connected to. How much surrendering have you made for yourselves, How much have you gone deeper and deeper within yourself to get back to yourself? Because no matter what, it's still coming back. It starts from somewhere and it's coming around in a circle. We always complete that circle. If you go towards that other person, to what they're doing, you remember to come back to yourself. So Cheney, you says you're stuck. Why do you feel stuck? Tell me, why do you feel stuck? Where is the stuckness coming from? You know, when I think of stuck, I think of, when we put the word stuck out there, is what is there that your soul is bringing you to now in this time that maybe you've turned your face away from it, or you're afraid to look at something, you're in fear of the unknown, and you might feel stuck because there might be something that you're missing. You know, that's where the that word sin comes in Aramaic. You know, is how much are you paying attention to the signs and the messages around you? And a lot of times Spirit is going to bring things onto your path where it's not going to move forward until you actually look at it. And sometimes we can say, well, I don't know what to look at. I don't know what to look at. Pay attention to what your experiences have been showing you through others, or what's been repeating. Okay, so that way you can start the wheels in motion to feel free again and not feel stuck. Okay. Also, being stuck can be where you are thinking within your thoughts and how you're perceiving your reality. Because, you know, a lot of times you don't realize how we have been repeating the stories, you know, we're repeating the stories from centuries, and we're now templating the ancient parts of ourselves. And when we're templating the ancient parts of ourselves, we're going to go deeper into what has been existing on all sides of ourselves, and how these mirrors just come in so many dimensional spaces, and how we're able to shift, and we're manifesting and healing and clearing all at the same time. This is how Spirit shows it to me. It's like it's always in motion. We're creating, you know, sacred alchemy all the time. So your body might feel stuck, but your soul is not stuck. Your soul is always in motion. What part of you are you not moving and changing? You know, because when we are resistant to change, then what happens is we start to create the elements of appearing stuck. Okay. Erica, you can't sleep. Well, because now is the time where we balance, because it's a part of balancing out the mental space and coming back into your heart space. Okay. Also, we're not able to sleep because of all the energies that are coming in, because I know that I was like feeling so wired last week. I mean, the symptoms that I've had with Ascension has increased, you know, from not being able to sleep, you know, what I've been able to eat or not eat, going to the bathroom. It's just been nonstop for me. Even my eyes have become blurry. I notice that I go in different stages, like I can't see with my glasses, then I can't see again. Then that changes. Some people might have the ringing in the ears. Some might be sleeping for hours and hours and hours. And no matter what we do, it's like Spirit is always having things happen to get our attention. See? And so part of the process of what we're ascending is with our bodies. And when it comes to the body, and also how it is catching up with your higher self that's coming in, that's also bringing in the element of how you're able to navigate with whether you're sleeping or not sleeping. And it's okay, because some of us may need only 4 hours sleep, sometimes 10 hours of sleep. That's when you're getting all the DNA codes coming in. Also, some of us have been having headaches and feeling tension in the head. And I say to breathe and to walk and to ground yourself with Mother Earth, okay? Because that will help you to shift with what's happening around you. I took the most awesome sea salt bath last night, or I should say early this morning. And it's imperative during this time to take your sea salt baths, and you could put anything in there with the bath beads, balls, whatever. And or if you can get to the sea, if you're in a area where it's warmer, because what that'll do for you is like it just really helps to work to the cellular parts of yourself. Because no matter what, this is why it's important to remember that all of the data that we've collected, because, you know, I always say that the way how we have started out our stories is that the soul knows everything there is to know. You know, we already knew what happened from the course of time, based on data that we have accumulated, what has been within us for centuries. And we desire to know what it is, to experience it. So we've been living and being experientially for centuries. So now that we've collected that data, we collected everything. And remember to be conscious of the labels that have been placed. No judging here. This is about what we have observed, you know, the opposite of you, the contrast of you, all the parts of you. How many of you are now still embracing and continue to embrace your shadow? How are you looking into the feminine aspect of yourself and how much you're nurturing yourself? How do you relate to your feminine principle? How do you relate to your masculine principle when it comes to sex and sexuality? If you have not seen my video that I put out either on YouTube or Facebook, The Sacred Sexuality, I go deeper into it, because that part of yourselves, when it comes to coming into intimacy, is what brings you closer to your union. So there has been so much elements of that is necessary when it comes to our unions, and how important it is to heal through that. As a matter of fact, Spirit has shown it to me that it represents such a great element, just as much as eating. And the reason is because when we're able to be intimate with each other, and when I say intimate, it's not necessarily subjected to the physical sex, because we have all been getting the upgrades from the lower chakras to the heart and everything, how we're able to feel into the thoughts and to feel into each other, to know what is happening with one another without saying words. So many people that I do readings for, they're so stuck on the words. I'm not saying that we're going to dismiss the words, but remember that things started from the beginning of time where we had words, and then the words that cast the spell, now we are breaking it down and reversing. Now we're remembering to come from the heart, because we all speak many languages, we speak many tones, we speak colors, we speak music, we speak so many things. But what is the heart saying? What is your heart telling you? Now is to come from the heart first, and then the mind. So think about how much you can release yourself, Erica, from the overthinking. And at the minute you feel your mind, yourself going into the mental space, then come back into the heart space. Because when you feel into your heart with everything that you're connected to, because everything that we have accumulated throughout lifetimes has been connected to an experience. That means that we've all had experience of, now you can all name all the different experiences we had, relationships, relationship with your children, relationship with a male, relationship with a female. Also, whether you have killed someone, they've killed you back. We've switched roles, we've switched places with almost every single thing. Whether you had a child in one lifetime, 10 children in the next lifetime. The list can go on and on. You could have experienced to have a certain illness, and then you didn't have it the next lifetime. So do you see how much data that we've collected? It's so much experiences. Now it's a matter of detaching from the experiences and allow it to make sense for you. What are you up to now? What is happening now? What is happening presently for you? What are you recreating? What new story are you recreating? What new you are you bringing together? So you get out of the mind sometimes and come back into what your soul is showing you. What is your soul up to as you're demonstrating all the parts of you as it comes together collectively, the shadows, all of the shadows. Again, how you relate to yourself and to others intimately, openly, being authentic and true to yourself. Okay? Being authentic and true to yourself. And just like what Spirit is telling me to tell you, Erica, is to stay out of your head, out of the mental space, and trying to be logical with everything, because they're showing me that a lot of times you want to get more logical first, like you want it to make sense first, and then it's like you're trying to understand how it relates. And I feel that Spirit is now pushing you in a direction for you to not worry about it making sense, because a lot of things that have been happening now in our life is where it is not making sense. It's not going to look like how you think it's going to look. And it's like most of everything now is how it's showing up divinely, magically, okay? Like out of this world, surprisingly. Uranus is also playing a hand in Taurus, where things are going to be even more surprising. Be conscious of what you speak, because it's going to happen. It's manifesting rapidly, okay? Like really, really rapidly. So it's important to be mindful again of the words that you speak. Okay, I'm going to read. I have to step back because it's like I got to look out far. Shemaya, greetings, Shemaya. You're stuck as well. As if you're an over and out over, especially bring that I'm an empath. Okay, what Spirit is telling me with you, Shamaya, I kind of feel like as if it's time for you to leave from where you're at. And it's almost like the toxicity where you are. Feels like a whole bunch of family members or something that you're surrounded by. And it feels like it's becoming an overload on your system. So in the meantime, if you are planning to move, if you are planning to shift location or even balance out between both ends, it's like it's sometimes it is time for you to know when to be by yourself or to create your own what's that word, sanctuary, or your boundaries. Okay, and sometimes we need our own quiet space. We need our own space to cocoon. And when all of us that have been going through the ascension, we've all been brought to that space where we got to be by ourselves, that you can't, like, you feel like you can't even be near the person. I went through that. It's almost like some people were repulsive. And all it is because as you are shifting through energies, timelines, experiences, what happens is as you're releasing it, if someone comes along and say, oh no, that's not what it is. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, that's evil, or this, da, 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 da. And you're allowing their energy to come in while you are healing through it, then what'll happen is that it can really kind of harm you in a way, and energetically and emotionally. And that's the reason why Spirit has so many of us having to be centered by ourselves, or you have to be cocooned, or you have to work through all of that without being, because sometimes that person has to heal on their own end, or however, or whatever is happening. And key thing is to really pay attention to what's happening within you, staying in your lane, and really paying attention to the signs, to the messages, and what there is for you to look at, especially those who are on the twin soul path. Whatever is being spoken, whatever is coming out in the dream state, and not just what's only spoken. Again, what do you feel is the message coming from your heart center? What do you feel is the message coming from the feelings that you're having? What is it that is amplifying, that is repeating itself? And the minute you speak the words to about the person, remember to bring it back to yourself again, as far as what is really showing up, that's mirroring, because you're sharing that same energetic space with that person. Okay, I'm going to go to Kamara. You have let go of a lot since the last reading with you. That's been a while since I had the last reading with you, Kamara, but I've been paying attention, and I see how you have been really stepping into so much joy, and really just creating your own your own movie, your own space. You're adventurous now. I remember when I first read for you and everything was just so and now it's like you brought yourself back online. You brought yourself back to life. You see, many of us don't realize that the path back to the self is that if you've been doing the same things for 6 months ago, 3 months ago, change something, change the routines, change the hairstyle, think into all the things that you've ever wanted to do and you haven't done it, because you're the one that is defining yourself, and what is it that brings you that most joy and passion. If you feel that you have been so uncomfortable in a job that you've had for so long, and then you just don't feel good anymore about it because you feel bored to tears or something, leave. That's all I say, leave. I want to give you my own example. About a couple weeks ago, just last month, I said I needed to supplement my income. So I went and I got a part-time job doing medical billing, because I do medical billing collections also. And when I do that, I also tune in, and I'm great at what I do, and I love it. I love figuring things out. So that's what it's like. No matter what it is, whatever you love to do, you know what I'm saying? Be in that space, be authentic, with that. But you know what? I enjoy my freedom. So, even when I was there and I was sitting there for hours and hours, and within my thoughts, I'm like, oh my God, it's like I couldn't wait to get home. I felt like I was stuck. I felt like, so what ended up happening is that Spirit sometimes will bring you, your soul, when I say Spirit, your soul is a part of this. Your soul will sometimes bring you to an experience that you may not really know what you desire yet until you have the opposite and the contrast. So I had the opposite. See? And then I realized, oh, I don't know if I feel that's what I really want. I think I'm going to start recreating my finances in another way where I'm still going to have my freedom. See, in the ancient times, when things started on the beginning, we were creating magically within ourselves, you see? And then, of course, we descended in consciousness. You know, when they talk about the fall of Atlantis and all these other things. And by the way, I already had picked up on, you know, the shifts that are happening with Atlantis. You know, Spirit was showing that to me last week. I got that revelation about the ice is melting. And when they showed me the ice melting, it's like our hearts are opening up more and more, and the expansion and consciousness and how we connect to one another. The codes, the divine sacred codes are coming through, and it's coming through each time we're peeling back the layers and the blocks that have been created throughout humanity's history. So if any of you don't know me, I'm going to introduce myself after all this talking. Sharon, Andrea. I'm doing the book called The Return of the Garden of Eden, how we're returning back to paradise. We're returning back to the oneness. We're recreating from the duality consciousness to unity consciousness. And what that entails is how we interconnect to one another. And so when I feel into that energy of Atlantis, which Antarctica is where they show me from that, what do they call that, polar realm, I suppose that's what it's called, and where a lot of ancient codes were there. And so as we are continuously working through the heart space, then what happens is, what do you think happens? You know, things start to melt. You know, all the anger, the pain, the suffering, you know, all the things that has gone, you know, how humanity has gone against itself, okay? Because we all did this together, and it's not to judge. Again, we wanted to create our movies in all different scenarios. And so as we are coming back into our heart space, more things are going to start to manifest because we're working from the heart center more than just the mind and the physical work and the physical things that we've been stressed over for so long. And when I say stress, meaning that when I think about families that have gone into so much separation from the beginning of time, slavery, entrapment, what else again? Anything that was used for monetary purposes and greed and power. You see, and with all that greed and power that existed, so much people right now on this earth are so unhappy because you're working the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 4, you're exhausted, you're tired, you got to come home. Then the gender roles come into play about if the woman is supposed to do this and the man is supposed to work 3 jobs to support the family and the mortgage. And then she either has a child or she's pregnant, she takes care of kids. Plus she also has to work and she's doing this and this all she must do this. And then the family unit has broken down. And then there's no intimacy again. With being able to come together and laugh and play. When last have you played? When last have you have created fun in your life and joy and being able to be intimate with one another and intimate with a partner? You see? And it's those blocks again that we are releasing. I'll never forget when I went to, there's a store where we go to get bulk shopping at BJ's. And this was years ago, and this is when I was just collecting data, and I was recording like crazy every day, everything Spirit's showing me. And my daughter said, Mommy, there's this book that was in there. And the book was called Work and Play. And it was taken back to ancient Kemet, Egypt time frame. And I remember myself back then. And I remember how everything was, it wasn't based on working hard, okay? It was how we were manifesting, and everyone was balanced. Everyone was balanced with being in a home, being in joy, being fed, the wealth, you see? All of it was there because wealth is about being healthy and feeling good. Also at the same time that you're prosperous and everything is in abundance. No illnesses, no sorrow, no pain. Because that's what the new earth represents. Everything that exists on the other side of the realm is what we are bringing back together. But in an even greater way, a greater way that it hasn't even been written, you see? That's what we're doing. We're bringing it all back together again. And so this is about you can work and make money, but now is to be in joy of that and you're in passion with it, because when you are passionate about what you're doing and you're in love at the same time and you're healthy and you're prosperous, what do you think happens? It's like a burst of light, because that's what you are. It's like you're coming back to yourself as golden and prosperous, and you're going to be looking as such, feeling as such, see, connecting, and not one more than the other. So this is where Jupiter in Scorpio is now completing that cycle of all the things that have been deep within the subconscious. Okay, I mean, it could go on and on and on about it, but you already know what it represents. You know, all the scandals, the deception, the sexual stuff that has come to do with females and males and children. You know, the Catholic churches, everything, all of this, it has to come up. It must come up. If you know that there are things that you're holding within yourself of being assaulted or anything, do not hold back. Release it. Do what is necessary to heal thyself through this. Because as you're healing that part of yourself, you're healing your ancestral line. You're healing anything else or anyone else, any children, you see, that come before you. So we're not recreating those stories again, and the pain and the anger. You see? It must come into balance. Everything has to come back into balance. Everything Spirit shows me is in reverse, in reverse, in reverse. You see? Do this within yourself, because that's the key. The key is for each person to do this within themselves. It's not about going out there and marching and, you know, putting up signs everywhere and cursing off this one and more hatred and more anger. Focus, 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 focus. See? If you must discuss something, how long do you stay there? Is it necessary? What is it doing for you or anyone else? Come back within and see what more are we looking at here. What are we reviewing? Because it's constant reviews. That's when you leave out of your body. I've said this before in the book. When you leave out of your body, is if you transition, I'm speaking of, you're going through a life review. You're going to review everything, not judge. You're reviewing how did you feel when you experienced such and such? How did this person you're in contact with, whether they're living or dead, which I prefer to say transition, you're reviewing all of it. But guess what? For those of us here, we're in the physical space, in the 3D world, we're doing it now. You're going through your life review. You're reviewing all of it. You're gathering up all of it. And whatever you're leaving behind, you're transmuting it, because the energy cannot be destroyed. So therefore, it's either you're transmuting or you're transforming energetically. And as you're doing this energetically, it's also happening with your physical body. That's why I couldn't remember that word when I did the Instagram live, and it's crystalline. Your body starts to become crystalline, okay? And so as it becomes crystalline, it is based on what is transforming within you. And so you think about a moment you are angry, frustrated, feeling, really bad, or in fear. And then when you turn that around, but that means that you're really going to be facing it. And sometimes we think we need someone to do it, but you're going to end up doing it yourself. And then what you're doing is you're transforming it into something else, okay? Whether you're taking action or you're doing it emotionally and healthier for yourself, okay? So I'm going to read more comments so I could go further. Okay, Shemai, so you said you just relocated and you're starting over. Okay, so the family that I feel that you're around is where I'm feeling the stress, because I feel all those family members around you, and it feels like it's stressful for you. So if you're there, Spirit is kind of making me feel like as if that's temporary for you, because I feel like as if there's a point in time when either you're going to be in a room, renting a room or something, because it's just too much coming from other people being around you, if that makes any sense. And it's like you need that time for yourself. You need to be able to heal even greater with not being around being around those family members, and they really don't even understand your journey right now. So it's like it kind of feels like it's toxic for you. Okay, Jessalee, hello, greetings, Jessalee. I remembered you. Yes, I do remember you from BJ's. And I was just talking about BJ's. I'm sending you so much love. Happy to see you too. I can't pronounce your name because it's in another language, but that's okay. Okay, Cheney, it says you think you're supposed to be doing something, but you're not sure what it is, the ultimate purpose. Knocking down so much negativity is draining you to concentrate on. Okay. Well, how about, Cheney, if you look at it in a way that you're not knocking down negativity, you're actually pushing through the shadow. You're pushing through the elements of yourself that you have not really looked at deeply. Okay, so it's always, as soon as, especially for those who either starting out in their awakening, starting out with really, like you start feeling like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking before? Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is not true. This feels so terrible. This feels so fake. You just want to stay away, So it's like everything that is like the contrast and the shadow part of yourself is going to show up, and it may look like negativity. But I said, be mindful of the words you speak and saying, this is negative, this is bad, this is evil, because really it's yourself it's showing up. It's showing up as you in that form. And if it didn't, then you wouldn't be able to look at it. And then when you look at it, you can choose and say, well, okay, well, this I no longer to go through this experience anymore. So now I'm shifting and changing with it, whether taking action or changing your thoughts or your perception about it. Because nothing comes in your space. Nothing comes into your space unless it is something that is to show up for you to see, show up for something for you to move through and to shift through it. As you start to become more and more into your higher self, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. And usually when you feel as if you're wanting to know what your purpose is, ask yourself this question, because they're telling me that there's something coming from you, from childhood. Usually from when you're in your childhood years, you kind of have an idea of who what you desire to be. Like for myself, I remember I always knew I was going to be a businesswoman. I always felt like I was going to do a book. I knew I was going to be doing something to do with the masses because of how I connect to people. And that's exactly what ended up happening. I ended up starting my own business at 12. And I started getting greater at it even later on in life. You know what I mean? And still I ended up doing the book. I didn't know when or how it was going to happen, but I trusted my feeling, and I trusted my my gut with where I was to start. You know what I'm saying? That even if you start and nothing works out, it doesn't mean that you give up. Okay? Because if we're not aligning with our purpose and aligning with our passion, you're gonna start to feel it, because we can't fake it anymore till we make it. We can't fake how we feel if you're doing something and you're feeling absolutely miserable and uncomfortable. You see what I'm saying? So you figure out what your niche is, because even if I tell you what your niche is, it might be something more, because some of us are even at the point where you're going to be manifesting like 3-4 things that you would like to do, and it's not impossible. You can do all of it. You can be all of it. Okay. And so when I see you, I see you involved in several projects. Okay. It's like Spirit says you have ideas to put on paper. You have thoughts to put out there. And when I see it on paper, then they're showing it to me like when someone writes, when someone brings out information to share with others. Okay. Whether it's writing or plays or books, literature, poetry, stuff like that, to express in that form. Okay. And for you, you're the type of person that you want to be in movement all the time. It's like you can't be in one place because you get bored. Okay. I feel like even when you were younger, that they used that label, or if they use it that time, that name, the ADHD, that you can't keep still. So for you, you have to be on the go. You have to be in movement. Okay. So really start to feel into what your deepest desire is, and get in and start it. Because a lot of times we tend to hesitate when we feel that pull and that nudge to be and to do something, because one, you're looking for permission from someone else, or you're looking to see if you're going to be given praise on what you do. You don't need anyone's permission to be yourself. You don't need anyone's permission for what you desire to do. Even if you went to school to do something else and then it changes, you can change your mind. Okay. Because that is sovereignty. That's freedom. Okay, so you have, when you're in that space of being true to yourself and being authentic with your path, authentic with who you are, and you're declaring it and you're walking it. Okay, it's not just talking it, you're walking and you're stepping into it. That's the key. That's the key. And when you are stepping and walking into it, you feel great inside. And then things start to what? To manifest. Then it starts to happen in abundance. And then when you're in your joy with what you do, then you also feel good. And there's no illnesses. And there's no feelings of betrayal, or this person didn't do this and this person. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these things that we're working on within ourselves, so that we were no longer in all this pain and unhappiness. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, what Spirit has shown me, what's coming up, between now and next year, is there's just going to be an abundance of divine families, abundance of marriages, births, conceptions. And even another video that I found, there's another young lady, I'm going to post it at some point, that she also says that there's so many people coming together in love. Okay, but coming together in love, meaning that you're in love with yourself, you're in love with your path, you're in love with life, you're in love with everything that you can connect to. Okay, and even if you have someone that you are opposing, that you honor how they feel and you honor yourself, so you don't stay stuck in worrying about what that person feels, or how this one, this and this and that, and the constant on and on. Because all that does is just takes up more room with what you're here to be. You know what I'm saying? How many of you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is what this person says and that person do, what's in the news, what's that, la 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 la. You know what I'm saying? All that time just taking up all that energy. You see? So live your life to the fullest, to the max, and do not allow age, your race, or what somebody says, or your culture, or the religion, or the this and the politics and all that stuff to create more blocks that you continue to have because of others. As we all stay on path with what we're healing and looking at your shit, as I say it like that, and really, really, really feeling in your heart where Spirit is taking you with your life and everybody else and how it comes together, then what happens, it creates a domino effect. I even spoke about in the book the 100 monkey theory. They put a whole bunch of monkeys on that island and they were not together in the same space, because you see, we're all connected. So as one person do it, the next person do it, and the next one, because it's not about having to say, hey, look at me over here, look at what I'm doing, look what I did. No, you will feel that by being, either if you're not in that space, because the energy is shifting all together, see, and it's shifting together collectively as you're working through your emotions, as you're working through the mental body, your spiritual and your physical body. Okay, all of it together. And that's why it's so important to focus on that and practice even more self-care and nurturing. It's the nurturing that has been missing on the planet that has also caused a lot of chaos. And the nurturing part of you is where the feminine comes in, the feminine energy, you see, and how we communicate with one another, where it doesn't become distorted, you know. And when I say communicating with one another, that even if someone who's in a female body, if she chooses to be half naked or however, that is not looked at as, oh my God, oh, look at that. Oh, that's so rude, or this is so that, and it's labeled and judged and all that stuff, and so distorted. It's about us being able to be free on the earth and still have the honor for one another, you see, and not be in judgment of it, and not focusing on what's going on in this other aspect and this other person and how this one is and all that stuff, you see, because again, as you're working through it within yourself, and that's the reason why twin souls are here, to template these new relationships, to template the new paradigm on earth, everything that is new, everything that is shifting when it comes to love, when it comes to being in love, when it comes to how we relate to each other, all the systems that are breaking down when it comes to money and finances, you know, because the government, all that stuff is breaking down already anyway. It's going to continue to happen. So the more we are, templating these frequencies and shifts, it's already happening energetically. You see, energetically, it is already starting to happen. And as we move through another element, as Jupiter is shifting into Sagittarius, that's where greater manifestation is going to start to take place. But it's important that if there's anything, again, for you to go deep within yourself during all these Scorpio energies, as you're clearing it out, that is what is like I would say it's like a grounding for you to get to the next stage, because Spirit showed me this full moon represents really what is grounding, and it's just going to set us off into an accelerated pace. Okay, because they showed it to me like pulling back a rubber band, and then or a slingshot, and then it just shoots right out. And so energy, we can't see it, but isn't it amazing how much changes that is already happening in your life without seeing it? So it's basically connecting all of the dots, you know, because as the lower dimension and the higher dimension, because that's where that story talks about, we talk about heaven on earth, the seen and the unseen. We call it sunrise and sunset. It all comes together. It all comes together. And as it comes together, it becomes so powerful. And that's why so many of us are going to start to be really attaining more and more of our gifts of manifesting in ways that you couldn't even possibly imagine. But then again, it's where does it come from? The imagination, to that childlike, free, loving energy. See, that's where it all comes from. So that's why you must be born again in a different way. You must come through the elements and return back to that place where we once were. Okay, because a lot of us are coming into more of our ancient codes. So if you find yourself speaking in different tongues and languages, that's natural. That's natural. Yeah, thank God for Jupiter, whoever wrote that. I'm going to go down the line because I don't want to miss anyone's message, because I feel all of our messages are important and all of our messages is golden and blessed. That's right. Erica, you pay attention to all the signs. Yes, darling, I'm glad that you do, because I tell you this, when it comes to the signs and the messages that come from Spirit, it'll just keep coming and coming and coming rapidly. And then it's just nonstop, because even when, I think it was 2 days ago, I went to a Matter of Health. It's a health food store, and I'm in there and I'm hearing Shaka Khan singing Through the Fire. And would you believe, I went back there yesterday because I just wanted to taste some more of that spinach salad. Went back there, and would you believe that song came right back onto my iPod playing. Now, you can't make it up. And it's like Spirit will always give you confirmations, always, with where you are on your path. Start recording yourself if you're trying to figure out what you are working through. Because when you are doing that in observation again and reviewing it, it kind of gives you a better idea of where you are on your journey with, again, no judgments. Okay, no judgments. Okay, Kamara, you said you're writing your own story. Yes, good. Your job was not happy and something needed to change. That's right. Whenever you're doing anything to do with any type of work and you're not happy, you got to change it. The power is always within you. Always. You know, I talk about, again, the story to do with Alice. Alice, there were 3 Alices. She was small. She was tall. She was a little too big. She's trying to fit through the door. She fell down the hole. We all fell down the hole, right? We descended in consciousness. Fell down the hole so we can remember who we are. And she had to figure out which key, right? Isn't that what we're doing? Figure out the keys to this, the keys that open the door and unlocks so we can remember. I don't use the word learn, because your soul already knows what there is to know. So the keys, and I'm talking about the newer version of Alice. I know there's many versions, but I love the remake of Alice. And so she found the right key to fit through the right door. She shrunk herself. She raised herself up, right? So we shrunk ourselves into the 3rd dimension, and we are also higher. Your soul is greater than you could ever imagine. Has anybody ever had a dream about seeing their soul? It is magnanimous. So why would you even think that you're any less than? You see? Kings and queens, we're rising to our true power. And the power is where we're not doing it unto someone, it's within. And now we're doing it together in partnerships. That's why all these new partnerships are coming on the earth. And we're templating it. We're bringing it together. We're bringing it together. See? And whether or not it's not where we're all the same, but because we're complementing one another. It's all in a complementary way, you know? Where one may have weakness, the other one have strength, you bring it together. So that's why don't stress yourself over how this person is being or what this and that and all that, you know, or even someone that looks like they have multiple personality disorders, because the multiple personality is a representation of all the aspects of the self, and they're all attached to what? Different experiences. So if someone who has 12 personalities, that's 12 different people. So that's who you are. We have multiple personalities, multiple frequency, higher and lower. See? So Alice, she finally remembered herself. And he said, you stupid girl, you don't know who you are. Do you know who you are? Do you really know who you are? And this is where you're finding out again and remember who you were then as you still are now. Because the persons who you were in all your other past lives, as you uncover yourself, as you uncover you and all the yous, like the matrix, you and me and me and you and all these yous, right? All these yous, so many yous and yous to bring together. And Neo had to remember he was the one. Alice also had to remember who she is. And when the dog told her, you're not going that way, you're going to go this way. Isn't that what people try to tell you? No, you shouldn't be focusing on that person because they're not your twin. No, your twin is somebody else, right? Go someplace else. No. You see, you're testing yourself. You're really testing yourself. Like, do you really know who you are? The I am comes in, and as you say, I know who I am. I know that's my twin. I know who I'm connected to. Then I am not comes and say, you really feel so? See, I love to say it like this, so we keep reminding ourselves of these stories that we create and how we're shifting even more in consciousness, and how we're shifting and really staying authentic and really remembering the truth. You see? And my truth and your truth may be the same, similar, but stay in your truth. Stay in your inner knowing. That's what coming back to the heart means. You stay within your inner, and as soon as you go in the head like, oh gosh, I don't think this is really true, that this is not my twin, this is not my path, because Alicia's path, she said that because she's a twin and her path, then that's not the way it looks. No. Be mindful who you go to go for readings, and to tell you, because this is where, again, God has you in a place where God is saying, look to me, not me, me. Look to the divine, look to source, connect to prime source, connect to prime source. Again, connect to prime source. There lies your truth, because we are the individuation of the unity consciousness. We are the individuals. We're the microcosmic aspect of the macrocosm of the universe among universes, among universes, among universes, among you. Do you hear me? Among universes. And therefore, as whatever I experience and you experience, it's all different experiences, neither right nor wrong. It just is. So as you find those keys again, the keys that are within your heart, not physical keys, then again, there are physical keys to go through that door, the doorway to your heart, the doorway to your true path, the doorway to your divinity, the doorway to your queendom and your kingdom, the doorway to your partnerships, all of the desires that you've ever asked for, and not looking at it as impossible, or it can't be, or because it doesn't relate to someone else, or you're comparing yourself to someone else. See? Don't compare yourself to someone else. If I was to listen to other people say, oh no, you can't be having two divine masculines, but I do. Why? Because I am a great expression of love. I just love. I talk about love, and people say, oh no, love is not the answer. We can still got to deal with this. But guess what? When I had ascended out of my body, when I say ascended, I saw when my soul left my body while I was still attached. All I felt was the love that we all have for each other, because I was connecting to the stars and the moon and the sun, and all I felt was the grandest version of love. I did not see any separation. I did not see anything to do with politics, anything to do with religion, anything to do with work. I didn't see anything to do with hatred. I didn't see anything to do with eating or anything but love. That's all that existed on the other side. While I was conscious, I was experiencing it, and I knew that spirit brought me to that experience, so I can too share it with you. And there may be others that may have had that experience and you're afraid to talk about it. Now is not the time to be afraid to speak your truth. See? Because as I stated, if you feel it and you feel it within your heart and soul, and it feels right, then that's your truth. See? That's your truth. And still you will be always in a place of testing. I am, I'm not. I am, I'm not. I am, I'm not. I am is not better than I am not. I am and I'm not is where it's in its existence, where it comes back to that void, to that center. And where we are right now in this moment, we're at the void. And it's there, whether you're connecting to it or not. What does the void mean? The void means that we're back to that beginning. And there's many different beginnings, because, it says the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the first, the end, and the last, right? The ones and the zeros. And I kept seeing 1010, 1010. That's what 1010 is. Ones and zeros. All these codes that you see, I've been seeing 144, 555, 777, 616, 333, 1111. I saw 1111 tonight here again. 1111, 1212 gateway, 1313. It's all these numbers. 313, right? 919, 888. All those numbers, all of that is a representation of the sacred geometry of your soul, and how and where you're connecting to all of it, and how it comes together. It's like a ball of light, and they show it to me always going into spaces seen and not seen, as you're interconnecting to yourself and all the parts of yourself, both the shadow and the light, both. Okay. And it is integrating, and it's integrating. And as it is integrating, that is what I had spoken of before, the soul convergence, because you are bringing together the parts of you that you may not have wanted to look at, including if, especially as the divine feminine, if you have felt a certain desire for certain things, and I'm saying it on both sides, but, I want to focus on the feminine now. And on the feminine side, the things that you desire, and, when we bring in that Kali energy, when you're in anger, fear, how you felt about your body shaming, how you felt when it comes to your yoni, when it comes to your womb space, what is in creation, right? The cysts that you may have created, the, what do you call it? Some women have developed cancers in their uterus, okay? Some females have created cancer in the breast. And all of this is a part of what connects to you sexually, you see? And sexual energy is who you are, because the sexual energy is what brings things into creation. And it's about the creation and not what was created. So when you're in creation, that means that you're bringing in something in that energy. Okay. And it's like in a circular motion. So, as things started from the seeds that are planted, right? And it's always something that's planting every single day. What are you planting in your thoughts? What are you planting? Because as you're planting the seeds, as you're planting these seeds, and you're planting and planting and planting, there's so many, it starts to come into some type of manifestation in the body. So if you're not at a place where you're still feeling like yourself, like your true self, that you're not in fear of touch, you're not in fear of connecting or expressing, then there's something more for you to heal. If you feel like you can't even sit on someone's lap or hug and touch, what is it about you? What are you connecting to when it comes to the feminine space? How do you feel about how you communicate and connect to your mother. Do you feel like you're very attached to your mother, that you can't move on with your life? If it's not your mother and what she has to say, or your father, how do you connect to all of that? Because a lot of times that is also the block within yourself in what you're creating, because it's either something you're creating, as a baby, and then when these babies that have been formed, what have they collected? All the energy that has been passed on from generation to generation to generation, the ancestral curses. See? The separation consciousness, the rejection consciousness, the lack and limitation consciousness, the family breakdowns, the incest. We can always refer back to, everything that has remained in the shadow. And as you bring, what has been in the dark, and how it has made you feel inside, what are you being and doing to heal it? Are you able to talk about it? Are you able to face it? Cry if you need to cry. Scream. Work through all those feelings. See? Because those feelings, especially when it comes to that feminine space, it intensifies and it connects to your emotion. And if your emotional body is imbalanced, that is what creates the diseases. That's what creates the disharmony between you and your partner, your sacred partner. Okay? And 9 times out of 10, they're mirroring something similar to you, because we've all switched places. Okay? So all of that is important, of how you are looking at everything and all the things that are deep within you, where Scorpio comes in. That's why there's been so much Scorpio energy, the retrograde with Venus in Scorpio, Jupiter in Scorpio. It's all the elements. You notice what I said? Elements, because these elements is what is within your body, and as you have the elements in your body, and if it becomes corrupted, or if it becomes how do I say, in a form of that anger or what's repressed, then it starts to make and form into something. So what and how you're able to heal yourself is what's important now. So that way you're alchemizing it and you're creating a new element. And as you're healing yourself through these elements and creating a new element is what forms, again, that sacred geometry with the codes and all that stuff, and the new DNA with who you are, and your body changing and all that stuff shifting, and you're processing out through whether you go into the toilet, or some of us, I've been having a lot of heat that come through my body, a lot of heat, and then you get cold again, and then sometimes you have the heat and the sweating, and then you're freezing at the same time. So you see how much changes are happening, all of those changes. And as you go through those changes, you will feel it within yourself and feel lighter. And as you feel lighter, that is what's bringing in that new energy that's coming through the Christ consciousness, that's coming through the portals, through the planet Sirius, which is really the central sun. The central sun is what stores the information as far as knowledge. And that knowledge that comes through without looking at a book, without going on the internet, is what comes through. That's what comes through. See? But again, it takes surrendering, letting go. Again, surrendering, letting go, and releasing emotionally, mentally, spiritually. How are you nurturing yourself through this? See? How are you nurturing yourself through this? So I'm going to go through more comments before I speak again. Kathleen, greetings, Kathleen. Greetings, Darren. Greetings, Stephen, Denny. I don't want to leave anyone. Greetings, Clive. I love you too, Kamara. I love everyone on here. I love all of us, as we come together. Keandra, I love you too, girl. So you said, thank God Jupiter is on the way. Scorpio. And Venus is going, well, this is a part of the plan, my dear, to deal with all the planetary changes. I would recommend, which I've said this before, to look into your chart. Look into what aspects your sun, your rising, ascendant sign, all of that. Really. because that's how it was back in ancient Kemet, Egypt. It's like you are responding to the planetary shifts. You're responding to all of it, you see? And it'll help you to not only make sense, but that's a part of how you're navigating through these energies, how you're navigating through the energies, okay? And again, the key thing is how much you're able to nurture yourself through all of this, okay? And how much you're able to shift with all of this. Because as you're shifting, that's what takes you to another level and another level. It doesn't stop. Even those who are coming into their, we have the inner union and the physical union. Even as we're coming into these divine unions of the soul, mind, and body, you're still alchemizing. You're still merging, okay? And we're all merging in, with different instances on different levels and different times. We're in different locations because all of this is what is transcend to all parts of the earth, all the quadrants of the earth, and even the other galaxies are connecting to us with assistance. Okay, we're getting assistance from all around. All around we're getting assistance. See, it's nonstop. It's ongoing. So some of you might be receiving messages from your galactic family. Be open. Be open to receiving the messages. Be open to what assistance. And if you feel you need assistance, ask for assistance. They're waiting to hear from you, and whatever help that you might need at this time, to overstand and to understand, all of this. So does anyone have any questions, or anyone would like any insight or clarity with anything? Let me know. I'm trying very well to see without my glasses because I know my eyes are getting some serious upgrades. I can't wait to when I can see the way how I was before. I'll be like, oh wow, I could see near and far at the same time, and also hear far away too. So there's so many different changes happening, with the body. So even if you even with your body, if you find your body putting on weight, don't worry about it, because your body is kind of like protecting itself because of all the energy that you're having to process. So if someone else is releasing weight, don't compare yourself again to what's happening with them, because it's all happening energetically differently for each person. Okay, even with what you eat. Listen to your body. If you know that your body is feeling like burning with certain oils and stuff like that, don't use it anymore, because as you are changing and shifting with your body, there's certain things that have too much chemicals in there that you can't use anymore. And even with your hair. Okay, so like I said, pay attention to what your body is saying to you, because the cells of your body is communicating with you as well. Kathleen, you said on your twin. And okay. That's a general question. So ask me something a little bit more specific, or better yet, tell me what was the last dream you had with your twin. Tell me what's the last dream you had with your twin, or the last contact you have with your twin. And let me see what I get in the meantime to do with your twin. Now, when I see the both of you in energy, I see like he's holding out, like it's almost like he's holding out his hand, and I see him in white. I see him in white also. Okay, so when I see someone in white, it's almost like the person feels angelic, and it's like also that there's like a peacefulness that I feel with him, because immediately, even though I don't have to have his name, I just feel a peacefulness. And it feels like as if you're the one that's more in anxiety. Okay, so I feel like as if he compliments you with being able to calm you down, to keep you centered. 2 weeks ago, email. So you haven't had any verbal contact, and if you want to share what was said in the email, that will also help me to to focus even more on what message is coming through, because I just feel like something coming to do with reaching out, or how much the connection is getting stronger. Okay, and it just feels very peaceful. That's how it feels to me. So don't have any doubts about what's coming next, Spirit says. Don't place any fear around the time. Don't place any fear around the connection. Okay? Or doubts. That's what I'm hearing. So if you want to tell me specifically, let me know. Because usually I know, like, if I hear the person's voice, I don't have to hear your voice, but when I hear your voice, it's like things come through, like, even like more. But the more the question is asked, the more I'm able to pull out the information. Keandra, you says when your feet hurt. Well, I know that your feet definitely can be affected as ascension symptoms. Like for myself, I remember I had a lot of swelling in my feet. It was like I had a spiritual pregnancy. So to me, when you're talking about your feet hurting, I'm kind of hearing spirits say there's something for you to balance out with how long you're standing up. That is important for you to lay down and to give your body rest. And if you can get reflexology, if you could get some type of reflexology, that will help. So I know that the feet can be affected. Definitely, because I went through that with a lot of pain. And also, glad you said that. I remember even my hip. I was having problems with my hip. Like I felt like my whole hip was going to dislocate coming up and down the stairs. So my kids had to help me just to, pass things to me or whatever. So, anything that affects your body, there's certain trigger points that you might feel affected with the ascension. Sometimes, like for some of you who are just awakening to your path, or being, realizing, oh my God, what a fake world. But it's not a fake world. It's just how much we're shifting stuff that doesn't serve us any longer. You might also be reenacting a past life. And I'll share this with you so you'll understand what I'm speaking on, what I'm coming with. There was a time when, not once upon a time, but then again, it was once upon a time, I was reading something to do with one of my past lives. And all of a sudden, I started to see stab wounds all over my body. And I was like, oh my God, oh shit. So I got my camera and I took a picture. And I was getting ready to take a bath. And as soon as I finished taking the bath, it disappeared. There was also a time when I also was affected with, like, I saw a big black mark that passed through from the top of my shoulder blade to the side of my back. And when I tuned in, I realized, and I was like, wow, I actually was in a past life where a spear was like thrown at me, and I saw myself falling to the ground. So, and there were some painful things that I also experienced, with my twin, with hurting me and throwing me in a volcano during the Mayan time frame, dragging me by the hair, killing me, so, because like I said, we've gone through so many different lifetimes. When I say we, I'm talking in general, on a whole, many of us. And a lot of times we're really playing out, or another person is playing out energy around you, so that way you're kind of like making observation of it. Of course, I'm guiding you to make observation of it instead of reacting. And as you're making observation, it's happening so that way you can see it for what it is, or if it feels like something that's been repetitive, so that way you can look at it to finally heal from it, or shift with it, or bring it into an awareness of it. Because once you bring it into an awareness, it's like you're bringing it to light, you're bringing it out, right? And to heal. And that's what happened to me. There's so many things. All of this was just transcribed in the book. You can check out my my page, Sharon, Andrea, The Return of the Garden of Eden. I have some of the pictures that I put up there that shows the stab wounds that I had on my body, and then it disappeared. And I took pictures of it. So this is a part of the process of ascension. So your body might sometimes end up reenacting a time frame. And I always recommend to have past life regression. Now, I did it on myself because I'm very open, and I allow spirit to bring the, to bring me, my soul just brings me to everything in all to due course, to whatever it is that had to show up. And it was so much releasing. It was a lot of releasing. And some of it can be very painful, but it's important to release it, because every single one of us is walking, or has been walking, with cellular memory. It's not, you can't see it, and your soul is walking with that energy. Some of you might even end up having to heal and process through experiences that your mother may have had, because that happened with me too, an experience that I never had in this lifetime, but my mother did, and I was healing through it with her, and she's on the other side. Okay? Or it could be another ancestor. A lot of times, like if you're having dreams and you're in a dream state that may appear as a nightmare, and when I say a nightmare, meaning that you might wake up with cold sweats, your heart is palpitating, you might start to have, and you're not schizophrenic, you're not crazy. It's a part of this process of ascension. And as you are processing through it with your body and energetically with all of that, once you go through that healing phase with it, usually it lasts for maybe about 24 to 48 hours. And whichever way, that's a part of what you call purging, and you're purging through it. So every time when the moon is coming in cycles, with the full moon and a lot of the retrogrades, every time there's a retrograde, you're reviewing something. Every single time. So from the time when Mars ran into retrograde and Venus is in retrograde right now, all of that is a part of the process. And that's why we're all in different stages of our ascension. Some of us already have been on the ride with this for years, and some are just starting. The beautiful thing is that there's many of us that are a little bit more accelerated with this process, and we're here to we're kind of paving the way for those who are just awakening. So it's not going to be as I would say as intense, or maybe as repeated, because there's more of us that are awakening. Okay, so regardless of what level or where you're at, that's what's happening. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you, that this could possibly happen with you, if especially many of us have been around during the time frame of the Vikings, or like I was around during the time with oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember. Definitely gosh, can't remember the names. The Underground Railroad, if anybody could remind me of her name again. Harriet Tubman time frame. I was around also with that young lady. She was it was in France. I'm trying to remember, in France, and she was a part of that war. I was around her also when England took over. It was like in the 1400s. I was around in that time frame also. I can't remember her name. It'll come back to me. If anybody else remembers, then please type it. Let me know. Because a lot of those memories are going to come back, especially if you were in a time where it was revolutionary, or even during the time of the Amazon women, where there's a lot of wars and battles. Some of you might even have memories of being a fairy, okay? That those memories might come out, okay? And it's not for you to suppress it, because it's a part of who you are and how you connect to the earth and how you connect to yourself, okay? All the elements of yourself comes together with all of that. And, it doesn't matter. Joan of Arc, thank you. I didn't remember her name, Joan of Arc. And that time frame when she was burned at the stake, it took her after she transitioned, she was in a cocoon stage for a very long time in the human element of years, because it was so traumatic. And these are the things that may happen with, some of you. And that's why I recommend past life regression. And sometimes the past life regression can come about because spirit will just lead the information to you. Because when you put those pieces together of who you are then and now, it helps to bring those pieces together. That's also a part of your your soul convergence. because you're bringing all the elements of the self, all the parts of you from what you collected in data, and what you wanted to see, externally with what and what were you choosing. And if in another lifetime that experience itself didn't work out the way you desired it to be, which I believe that's majority of us, okay? We've all been trying to get somewhere, still coming back to nowhere, to create somewhere and something from nothing. So all of this is what we've been up to. So when you bring those pieces together now, you bring more clarity, and you feel more empowered also. You feel more empowered. So that's what's important. That's what's important. And it brings you greater peace. That's one of the things. Greater peace to the point where I'm talking about once you keep healing through it, because sometimes it might repeat itself again, through another person or the same person. So don't run from it. Just embrace it, and remember again that that person is representing an energy for you to review and to look at, and not necessarily call names and so on and so forth. And it's easy to do that, I know, because we're still in the human flesh. But just remember to take it higher as to what is showing up. And that includes those who are on the twin soul path, because it's the same thing. Whatever is being said, whatever action, however it makes you feel, whatever is triggering you. Okay, if you think of saying, oh, I'm lonely, or I need to be with this person, there's a difference between when you're needing and then what is going on within you and your desires, and how can you fill that up within yourself with not having to need to have it with that person. If there's any fear of something that, or something that you're expecting, or what expectations you're placing on that person, bring it back to yourself. Bring it back to yourself. That's what's important. Keandra, you said you saw the pic today. Oh, you saw the pic. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I saw that, Keandra, you saw when I was, I think that was a point when I was being more activated with myself, with who I was as Nefertiti. And my phone was typing, you are a beautiful person, you're a beautiful person. And my daughter, she was so smart to get her PS Vita, and she videotaped it at the time when that was happening. That was really incredible. So even the electronic stuff also gets affected. I'm glad that you mentioned that. The electronic stuff gets affected. When I say affected, meaning that it's going to bring on the elements of things to see and to experience. Because as you're ascending, the energy is so powerful that my phone was typing. I'll never forget when I went to the beauty salon to get my nails done, and I was sending a video to my twin to do it with my grandson. And at that time, I was all into that part. Oh my God, he's my twin, and I'm getting all excited because of a dream I had. And I know many of us have done this. And I sent him the video based on the dream to do it with my grandson, that he was happy that I was singing to him. And before I did it, and I was at the nail salon, my phone was typing flowers and all this stuff saying, I love you, on the phone. And I showed it to the young lady that does my nails. And she was like, oh my God, I was typing it. And when I got home and said to him, that's when he blocked me. And that's when I purged. So you see, when those things happen, it's a part, and that is that process again of what you go through internally to heal. So it's important to remember that. Even though when we're looking at it from the physical, I remember that the feminine, she had to rise to her full power. She has to keep rising to her full power, come into her full power before there's anything to do with coming together physically. And there's moments when you're going to, this is for those who are just beginning on their path, okay? You come together, you'll separate. You come together, you'll separate. In some cases, there's somewhere you may not have been in contact for a long time, because your soul is working through the energy on both sides, because that's the energy that you share with that person. And a lot of times, whatever has to come up for healing, it can't be in that same physical space. Also, another key thing is that it also has to do with how are you connecting to your twin telepathically? How are you feeling into things within your heart? How are you feeling into the energy from the experience that you're having even with other people. There might be someone that may come up from your past that you had a relationship with. Pay attention to that, because all the relationships that you've had prior to that is a representation of your twin. Whoever your twin is involved in, they're a representation of you. And when I have discussed the soul convergence, what happens is all the versions, I call it versions, okay, and percentages, I should say, of yourself that shows up in your twin space, okay, and it could be through a wife, a lover, a friend. It could even be their mother. It could be anyone, because there's all an aspect of you. And the same thing on the other side. And as the soul is returning to its own, and I'm talking about in the individuation aspect, as it is returning to its whole self, it has to go through the versions of what it's healing, of what is shifting, through the, now I can say the lessons. What is it that, we're breaking down to what no longer serves us, to bring it back into its, that pure, organic space where it's not generic. Okay. And so when I say generic, it's no disrespect to the person, but the generic space is that version of you, or that version of that person's self, as they are working through it energetically with that person, because it's easier for them to do that than if they were with you. And so this is how things are going to constantly happen until you come into that space again, the inner union, and then that person is also within their own self, in their inner union and their own empowerment. And, because you're coming together as equals, okay, as you're constantly going through these stages of alchemy, okay. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to share. I don't know if anyone else has any more questions or anything. Oh, Kathleen, let me go back to you. You said that, oh, sorry. You're looking at my tree of life. Oh, where is, let me read the comment. Where did it go? Okay. That was my tree of life. Okay, so you said you sent him info about the twins. Well, I know when we start out, we get all excited because we want our twin to know that there are twins, and get all excited. Like for me, I got all excited. I was like, oh, guess what? I found out who you were, and Spirit showed me, da 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 da. But it's all about you. It's about you, Kathleen. And the masculine, the one who holds the most masculine energy, they are usually the ones that find you first, okay? Or you may end up have dreamt about them long before they physically find you, because that happened to me too, okay? But the journey is about the both of you, but it still has to do with you. It's a journey back to you. Everything, all of it's back to you. And as you're coming back to that journey, it's like you might think you need to identify yourself with that person, identifying with the path itself, but they're really you. So, when you look at your twin, remember that he's the masculine aspect of you, and you represent the feminine principle, and he represents the masculine principle. And remember that it is not subjected to gender. So there could be a female that's representing the masculine energy and another female that represents the feminine energy, because it's not about the body, because we're here to bring on a higher state of love, a higher divine state of love, and changing all these relationship patterns that have existed on the planet, which includes codependency. It includes how we view sex and how it relates to the body. Because it's not going to be about just the physical lower templating of the body. This is about how we're bringing it together as the entire orgasmic experience that is the true connection to the divine. And it has to do with coming back into that the purified state. That's how it has always been shown to me, all the time. And that's the reason why it was shown to me about a week ago when I did that sacred sexuality video, that the intimacy that we have with ourselves, the intimacy that we have with our sacred partner, is also the connection that we have to the divine, the intimacy we have with source, like really being taken into that garden. That's why the book is called The Return of the Garden of Eden. And what does that represent for you? You see? And how do you define it? How do you define yourself? And what is your view? Even if the word twin wasn't in the picture, how do you relate to yourself intimately? How do you relate to that person with no labels, no names, no gender, no religion, none of that? See? And that's where spirit is taking many of us. So even if you're not on a twin soul path, it's still about coming into your true connections, coming into your true sacred partnerships, not where you're getting into relationship because of money or because of a status quo, or what this person have, or whether this person is a doctor and the title and this, or if it was something passed on from generation or an arranged marriage and all that stuff. Because even the marriages are not even going to be the same on the earth in the next few years. It's like it's more about a spiritual connection, a spiritual ceremony, okay? And relating again from the heart space. Our children are even ascending at the same time with us, okay? So even the babies that are coming in reincarnated, the way they're showing it to me, it's like these are the diamond crystalline children, and they're here to lead the way even greater on the earth. And there's nothing tying them energetically like how it was with us incarnating. And it's all in different stages. But it's like, I know what is being shown to me is that it's coming in on a grander scale with all the things that we're shifting, including with our children and parenting, okay? How we're able to come together and to be together as one unit. That it doesn't matter whether this one was the baby mother first and this one was the baby father first, and the judgment placed on having these children, and whether or not how it's defined by a child that has two parents that are of the same sex, or if it's defined that they're in a relationship with parents because if it's their birth parent, or if someone that adopted them. It's all these different things, all these different energies that have been placed in a way that has caused so much chaos, because love is still love. Love is still love. And when I say love is still love, meaning that if there is someone that is able to give love to that child rather than someone who's puts their granddaughter in the oven to be burned and stab the child before placing the child in the oven, when that child probably could have been in an adopted home, but just because that was her biological child, look at what happens. You see? Look at what happens. So there's so many things that are changing. And it is how we view ourselves, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to each other, how we relate to each other on a global scale, okay? That it doesn't matter, what country the person is from, or their heritage, or their culture. See? It's all coming together with releasing the blocks and the limitations that we have placed to do with love. So I really am grateful to each and every one of you. And I'm praying that all the messages that I've given to you have given you greater clarity, greater peace, and connecting more to yourself and to others, because it's not about losing yourself in on this journey. It's about finding yourself. And when I say losing yourself, meaning that a lot of times we can get caught up in other people and catering to people, and I got to save this one, I got to help this one, and then you leave yourself out. It's about coming into balance. So sometimes some of you are not coming into that physical contact with your twin or your sacred partner, because maybe there is something for you to start nurturing yourself and thinking about yourself on a greater scale, and balancing out people in your life that you have a hard time saying no, or that if you know that you're being nudged that it's time to leave, that you don't leave from some place or a situation, or staying in a marriage or a relationship because of children, because the children are feeling your energy and your vibration. And if it's not healthy and if it doesn't feel good anymore, then it's time to leave. See, because everything that represents the full moon and Scorpio energy is that we're really recreating the desires of our hearts. And the desires of our hearts, meaning that you can't lie and cover it up anymore. You can't try to pretend as if, oh, it's this and it's that, when that's not what it is. It's just not hidden anymore. It's like really facing yourself and surrendering to yourself and saying, you know what? This is how I really feel after all. This is what I really desire. You know what I mean? And knowing that you're aligning with that energy at the same time. You put it out there, but you're aligning with it, meaning that you know that it's happening, not going to happen, because you're placing it in the present space, in the now space. You know that it's going to happen. You're connecting to it, right? And as you are connecting to it into how you feel about it, right? Because you already put it in thought, feeling if it's time to take action, or sometimes no action. The masculine space, taking action. Feminine space, letting go and surrendering and just connecting to it. See? And so that's how you create that inner balance within yourself. And as you create it within yourself and you start creating that space of peacefulness, it gives that space and room for it to start to manifest. Okay? So I'm going to say meditation, sort of affirmation with you as we put out the intentions of this full moon energy and the power that it brings. It is mighty powerful. So wherever you are, because you know, whether the moon is visible for you to see out in the sky, it's still in existence. You know, it's like the sun is still out there too. So just because the night falls doesn't mean it's not there. And it's the same thing when it comes to the changes within you. You may not be able to see it, but it's still happening. It's still happening, and it's happening within you. And so this day, today, where I am, it is October 25th. And I am in gratitude. And I am in gratitude, Mother, Father, God, for bringing us here together. Bringing us here together for clarity, for peace of mind. Everything that comes together in this unity consciousness. I am in gratitude that we're able to identify ourselves and to really know thyself. As we know thyself, everything that there is to know about the self comes together. And as we come into that space, into that total encompassing energy of oneness, we still are able to identify ourselves and our desires without feeling guilty or feeling ashamed of it. And so as we are remembering ourselves and coming together in strength of ourselves and healing all the time, because it's an ongoing process, we are in gratitude. We're in gratitude for the signs and the messages that come through from our angels, our spirit guides, our higher self. We're in gratitude for the space and the elements of the dreams and everything that shows up in the unconscious and the conscious as it comes together. We're in gratitude for anything that may seem that's not so good. We're in gratitude for that too. Anything that may seem negative, we're in gratitude for that as well. We're in gratitude for the all there is. We're in gratitude for everything that shows up in its grandest form. I am thankful and grateful for each and every one of us as the information and everything as life unfolds right here, right now. And we're at peace with it. We're at peace. Shoto similate kinoni mene lo kunile machunte kasini na la kunila mtishtato kusinina pata kisene na chuto mi tambala pitishna redeke ira na to sumira papa ni choko sinamate ira na makuni la pasira kichno kuturuba isa na tashene kotunu mina pampata isa la bakachuno keteno mida papata dashara. And so it is. I send you so much love and infinite blessings. If anyone would like a private session with me, please feel free to inbox me, or you can send me an email at the Garden of Eden 1111@gmail.com. Feel free to check out my website, www.thereturnofthegardenofeden.com. Feel free to check out my page, Sharon Andrea, as well. I am in gratitude again for us coming here together. This is holy matrimony. this is a sacred time, and we're in our own sacred space, individually and collectively. And so it is. I love you. Namaste.